Welcome to the Offensively Simple podcast. I'm your host, Barbie Carr, lead homeopath for Imago Dei Homeopathy. There are two things in life that I consistently say are offensively simple. They are homeopathy and the gospel. Sometimes even mentioning those two things together can be offensive, and well, we're going to talk about both right here. You see, the heart of homeopathy is story. Real, raw stories seeking redemption, restoration, and hope. So join me as I demystify homeopathy with some of these true stories from real people who have experienced some of the deepest, lasting results homeopathy can provide, as well as some of the honest conversations needed in order for us all to see restored health become the normal. The ones that are so simple in their honesty, you might just get offended, or possibly set free. So let's go. First of all, just let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am, first of all, a avid and deeply devoted believer in Jesus Christ. I have been, before I was a professional homeopath, I was involved in inner healing and deliverance, not for pay or anything like that, but just as the ministry of my heart. The Lord would just bring people to me who were broken, and this was after I had already undergone my own and my family's own personal inner healing and deliverance. So, really learned that route by going through it myself in the trenches. And as the Lord started to bring people to me to help in turn, it really became clear to me that there seems to be a missing piece in this. I'm so passionate for the deepest and fullest healing possible, whether it's an emotional healing, a physical healing. I've always been after that whole person healing, because I believe that's the heart of the gospel, to bring the fullest redemption possible. We are called to grow up into all things, into the fullness of Christ, right? And so that means all of him, which means there's always more. It's going to take an eternity to get there, but that the possibility of walking in wholeness is there because of what Christ has done through the gospel. And so I've always been passionate about that. And even as my own family personally utilized homeopathy for about 12 years, for the many years before I actually received a call from the Lord to pursue homeopathy professionally and underwent training and apprenticeship and the whole bit. Even before that, I just really started to see there was a missing piece in the deliverance, in the inner healing. So often in my own life and in my family's life and in the people's lives I was helping, there would just be, sometimes it would be a physical thing, like an illness or a health related issue that would seem these people would get freedom. And then this health issue would just completely throw a monkey wrench into them, and they would just, fall back into those old patterns, or there would be depths of inner healing and deliverance, and sometimes there would be a return of what had haunted them before. And I was like, this should not be so with the Lord. What is it? So I've always been the one to ask the questions, the hard questions, the bold questions. I want to know, I want to unpack something as deeply as possible, because I want the treasure, right? And so when the Lord called me to actually pursue homeopathy professionally, he showed me how this can be such a key, a missing key, and perhaps even the missing key I was looking for, to be able to offer something to people that could help empower them to actually work through the hard things, to actually face their giants, so to speak, and slay them once and for all, and not just knock them down, but actually chop off the heads of these things so that they won't return. And that's the beauty of homeopathy, is that it doesn't keep you from the hard things, right? Sometimes I've seen homeopathy just do absolutely off the charts incredible things, and I'm excited to bring you some of those real stories directly from the people in this podcast. But you can take a remedy and you can get immediate relief. You should see immediate improvement when everything is correct. We're going to talk about the nitty gritty of all of that in future episodes. But I just really want you to understand my heart behind this is just to take the veil off of homeopathy, to really face the lies that are out there spiritually about homeopathy, to just raise the bar for the body of Christ, especially to say, hey guys, we've got to hone in our discernment here. We can't be so afraid. We can't call discernment or suspicion. We can't call suspicion and fear discernment, because when we do that, we end up actually throwing whole babies out with the bathwater that might actually be gifts of the Lord to that he's wanting you to learn and he's wanting you to partner with, so that the Lord can empower you to do the work necessary to see more of him manifest in your life. Now, I'm going to say right from the get-go, homeopathy is not the healer. Homeopathy is not the savior. Jesus always, always is and always will be. Here is what I love about homeopathy is that it doesn't do the work for you, whether it's physically, emotionally, or mentally, and 100% not spiritually. But what homeopathy does is, unlike say that what you'll hear about this in this podcast, the allopathic world, which is all of the medical industry, the pharmaceutical industry, and a fair amount even of the natural medicine world, but not all of it. And so we'll just say this: if using a pharmaceutical, like you have, let's say you have heartburn, right? And so you take an antacid. That antacid is doing work for you that your body should be doing itself. And in fact, that antacid is forcing your body to do something it wouldn't normally do. It's suppressing those symptoms. It is forcing your acid receptors to stop producing so much acid, which doesn't fix the problem at all. It might temporarily relieve your symptoms, but what happens, and I'm sure if you've taken a pharmaceutical for pain or any other kind of discomfort before, you know what I'm talking about. It's like you have when the medicine wears off, the symptoms come back twice as hard. It has an opposite reaction. It's pushing back, right? And that's because your body was designed to heal. God put within every single human being and animal and even plant, I believe, this design to repair and to heal. We are driven innately and designed innately to move towards restoration, to move towards wholeness, and the symptoms are not the problem. Oh, I just can't wait to get into all the overlap between the gospel and, how they intertwine, because the gospel impacts every area of life, right? And what I love about homeopathy is it's treating you as an entire person, so we have to look at every area of life. But the symptoms aren't the problem. And so apply this to more than just your physical world, but the symptoms are the communication telling you what the body needs to resolve the real problem. And that is what I love about homeopathy, is that when your practitioner, a seasoned homeopath, knows how to observe the symptoms and read the symptoms, that person can then provide the homeopathic remedy that will match that entire person's picture. It's like giving an upgrade, right, to your phone, or giving that person the code those symptoms are crying out to say, hey, I need this. Give me this, not so that the remedy can fix it, but so that the body can do what it was designed to do. So the remedy doesn't do the work. The remedy simply provokes or wakes up or activates. I love the word provoke. I think that's the best example of what it's doing. It's provoking that innate design to heal so that it can function the way God designed it. And that is the restorative, redemptive aspect of homeopathy that I just get so passionate and excited about, because the Lord's fingerprints are all over that, right? Utilizing the natural world, the plants, the animals, the minerals, and even sometimes, oh gosh, talk about this, working all things together for good, for his will and purposes. Some of the remedies are even made from diseased tissue. And there's a lot of debate out there about the spiritual purity of Samuel Hahnemann, the founder of homeopathy. We'll dive into that discussion in this podcast too. But I want to say this, if the Lord can utilize a donkey to accomplish his will, if the Lord can utilize a evil king, more than one evil king in scripture, to accomplish his purposes for good, he can use anybody regardless of what they may or may not be partnering with. Now we're gonna don't get all feather ruffled yet. We are absolutely gonna dive into that issue later, but I want you to understand that God, so Hanuman honored the Lord in his writings. He would tell it's in writing in his organon that he would give a person a remedy, and he would say, now I have done my work, but the ultimate glory and the ultimate, rapport and work is now unto the Lord. So regardless of whatever all he may have been involved in, here's the thing: it is the glory of God to conceal a matter and the honor of kings to search it out. Hanuman was created in the image of God, and the Lord gave him a grace to uncover the glory of what the Lord had put into the natural creation, so that it could get unlocked and utilized to partner with the Lord in bringing redemption and an empowerment, so that we can then consciously choose more willfully to partner with the healing, rather than the things that darken our minds, the things that darken our hearts, the things that weaken our vitality in our bodies, so we just don't feel like we can face the giants. Homeopathy gives you the power you need, the health you need to look at the offer of the Lord and say, now will you let me take you through this process so we can get a full and complete healing, right? So that is a nutshell description of much bigger topics. Hopefully that's provoked questions in you, because this is what this podcast is all about. Let's answer the questions. Let's face the hard things, right? So that is what this podcast is really going to be about. We're going to address, but so sometimes it's just going to be me, like this episode. I'm going to teach, I'm going to present an issue, I'm going to maybe ruffle your feathers a little bit, or just teach a concept, to really bring about the demystification. I'm so passionate about simplifying the understanding of homeopathy. There's a lot, and guys, there is a lot of misinformation out there about homeopathy, and I understand why it gets so confusing. And so my heart is to make it so understandable that you understand the power in its simplicity, because it's not that it's not complex. Just like the gospel, it's not that it's not complex and it doesn't have depth. They both have immense depth, but the simplicity of it is what makes it so powerful. And so unfortunately, the information out there is either wildly incorrect, or the correct information out there is so difficult to understand that you practically have to be a practitioner to understand it, right? And so I am passionate about taking the accurate information and making it more accessible to you, the average person that needs homeopathy and needs to have a confidence about understanding what this is and why this is valuable and why it's good to use, right? So we're going to talk about that. So sometimes it's going to be me on here doing that, but then a lot of times I'm going to bring on, this is going to be an interview. I have several already lined up that I'm so excited to bring to you. But, I said at the beginning, the heart of homeopathy is story. And it's one thing if I sit on here and I tell you stories, anonymously from my clients, which they still will hold the power that they hold, but it is a completely other situation when I bring those real people on and I just sit here and ask questions, and you get to hear straight from their mouths what homeopathy has done to provoke restoration, to provoke redemption, to provoke real lasting physical healing that they were told they could never have. I personally have experienced that, and we'll share that on here as well. There is something so powerful when you hear the testimony out of the mouth of somebody who's walked the journey and is now speaking from a place of a measure of victory, right? Because again, there's always more. These are real clients of mine that are still in process, but they have experienced such immense breakthroughs in such powerful ways that I am so eager to bring these stories to you so that you can hear straight from them what homeopathy can actually bring and what it can actually do. I'm also going to bring other people on that, are passionate about the spiritual side of just taking the lid off of the lies in our culture about health, and even addressing the spiritual issues. There are real spiritual issues in our current culture, especially in America, when it comes to health. That we as believers, my heart is to see us all grow up. We're all growing up into Christ together, and we have to, every one of us, I'm including me in that us, because we have to hone in our discernment, and we need each other to sharpen each other as we navigate. And so I'm going to have people on here that are going to help further those discussions and bring revelation that will set us free. So that's a little bit about what you're going to see here. We're also going to talk about, and hopefully I'll bring some people on as well that are going to discuss the responsibility we have as believers to steward our health and our bodies. It includes the inner world as well as our physical world, our physical health, our inner health. But the necessity that we have to actually free ourselves of the systems that we've been brought up in. We are not to be conformed. We are not to be conformed to the systems and the ways of this world, right? But we are to be renewed and transfigured. Actually, the word in Romans 12:2 is not just transformed. It's the same word used when Jesus is transfigured on the mount in front of the disciples. So it says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transfigured, body, soul, and spirit, by the renewing of our minds, so that we can then accurately discern the will of God. So we're going to be diving into that and what that actually means for looking honestly at some things that might be hard to face but are important, so that you can experience the real freedom available to you. And the beauty is, God is love, and love always leaves room for a choice. So that's what I believe. One of the beautiful, if not maybe the main thing that homeopathy offers is just, it cleans off our ability to see our choice, right? It doesn't make the choice for us. And, I always say, hey, Jesus can come in and heal you in an instant if he wants to. That would be amazing. I'm all for it. Let him be himself, which is the all in all, right? But I know how much he loves to reveal himself in process. And so I love that love always leaves room for a choice. And I feel like homeopathy just cleans off our lenses so we can see the choices he's presenting to us, the invitations to those processes that can bring real inner healing, emotional healing, spiritual freedom, and physical healing, to see the choices we need to make in order to live the fullness of the life that he has created for us and called us to. So it's like homeopathy represents that choice to us. And then we get to decide how far we want to go or how free we want to be, right? So that's so beautiful. But we're going to talk about all of this and then everything in between. So why is story the heart of homeopathy? Well, because, everything, all of us have a story. Every single one of us carries a measure of trauma, whether it's ours or an ancestor's or a relative's. And everything that we are is a story, and the Lord is after that story. He's after writing it with us. He's after redeeming it. And I love that, in order for the correct homeopathic remedy to be found, a person has to open up their story, because it doesn't treat issues or symptoms or systems. It treats you as an entire person. And so your story is everything. And I love that then homeopathy, enters the story, and we begin to see it transformed, transfigured. So I can't wait to bring more of those stories to you. What is homeopathy? Maybe I should have mentioned that sooner, but hey, if this is the question you've been looking for, I'm glad that you're still with me, because I really want to explain something at the end as well. So hang with me. But here's how I have chosen to define homeopathy, again, in trying to make it as simple and graspable as possible. That homeopathy is a principled system of natural medicine that utilizes the energetic, yes, that's not a bad word. That's not a bad word. Utilizes the energetic and molecular properties of water to provoke our innate design to heal. So I'm going to say that one more time without all the caveats. But homeopathy is a principled system of natural medicine that utilizes the energetic and molecular properties of water to provoke our innate design to heal. And something important to understand, yes, homeopathic remedies, the little things you get at the little pellets that you can buy at the store, a lot of people are familiar with those. They are powerful and they work, right? But I want you to understand, with these stories I'm bringing to you from these people, they're experiencing that principled system of natural medicine. They're experiencing the principles of homeopathy, and that's what's enabling them to experience the depths of healing and breakthrough that they're going to bring and share to you. Just utilizing the homeopathic remedies themselves is not the practice of homeopathy. And that is so important. There's nothing wrong in just utilizing a homeopathic remedy. They're safe, they're natural, and they work. But if you're after deep generational healing, if you're after the depths of healing and restoration that you're going to hear from some of the people I'm bringing on here, and you have to utilize the principles. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, guys. And these principles were designed to bring exactly what these stories are going to share with you. They were set up to be repeatable and timeless, and to actually bring the answer that we desperately need to chronic illness. And here we are, we're in a chronic illness epidemic, and the pharmaceutical world doesn't have an answer for it, but homeopathy's had one for over 250 years. There's over 250 years of documented lives changed and restored from chronic illness because of this principled system. So that is what homeopathy is, and that's what we're going to be talking about. And I've mentioned how this pertains to the gospel. It's redemption. It's redemptive. It's empowering, right? It's cleansing and unlocking. And I can't wait to bring these discussions and these stories to you. But I'm going to leave you with two things. So the first one is, why call this offensive, right? Why am I even talking about offense? Because that's something we want to avoid as believers, right? Of course. But here's the thing about offense, and I really want you to listen in on this, because this alone could be transformative to you. I know it has been in my life, and I've had others share with me that this is, and this is why I titled this podcast this. Offense is a tool, and I actually like to consider offense more of a sword, like a double-edged sword. But it's something that Jesus utilized on purpose many times in his ministry. And once you go looking for it in scripture and find it, you can't unsee it. But it's a sword that I think one of the most, I'll give an example, but he used it intentionally a lot of times. And here's the thing. When you feel the prick of offense, like think about it as a sword, and a sword pricking you, you go, ow, what? Right? Ugh. When we get offended, that means anytime we're offended, guys, that means there is a lie that we are believing that's being confronted every time. Because you see, the sword of offense is providing an invitation. We can do one of two things. It's providing an invitation, and it's a one of two things answer. So when you feel the prick of offense, you can either choose to press into that sword and allow its double edges to really uncover and reveal the lie we're believing, until we finally get to the other side of that sword and find the truth that sets us free. Because remember, offense means that there is a lie we are believing about something, and that lie got pricked by the truth. And so now if we press into that and we get to the other side, discover the truth, it will set us free. So that's the first choice we can make whenever we're presented with feeling offended. The second one, though, is we could stay in that first initial prick, that offense, and we can actually pick up that sword, and we can wield it instead of a tool of freedom. We can wield it as a sword and a weapon of division. And I know that we have all experienced that, right? Being around offended people who are swinging that sword around, like, and dividing and just tearing down and being destructive. But here's the thing, it was never meant to do that. It was meant to set us free. And I love this example. Jesus, he's got thousands of followers, right? And everybody's following him. And he looks at them, they're Jews mostly, not all, but mostly. He looks at them and says, if you want to follow me, you have to drink my blood and eat my flesh. Hello, what? He's a rabbi and he's telling them this, right? Talk about major offense. It says in even some translations that many were offended that day and walked away. So many people, cutting ties. I'm just going to pick that sword up and say, no way. And they're probably going to go wield the sword to turn people away, right? But the disciples and a few others were like, okay, feeling that offense, but they'd seen enough about him to know, like, he didn't just say that to say that. And so they chose to press into that sword, let it do its work. And they said, what did you mean by that? And at the other end of that offense was the truth that set them free. So guys, I encourage you to dive into this podcast, dive into these discussions. And if you feel that prick of offense, understand you're being given a choice. That there's something in you that you are believing that whatever's that isn't 100%, right? It doesn't mean the whole thing you're believing is wrong. It just means there's something in it that needs clarifying, or it needs correction, or redirection, or you just reshaped a tiny bit, right? Or maybe there's something flat out that needs to be completely turned around. But I'd encourage you to explore, wow, why did that offend me? And what is the truth on the other side of this that I need to discover so I can be more free, rather than just picking it up and wielding it in some kind of a divisive matter, even if it means isolating yourself, right? So I encourage you to press into that. That is why I call this offensively simple. Homeopathy can offend people, especially if they're coming from a more pharmaceutical background. We all know that the gospel can offend a lot of people, and then you put the two together. There are lots. I have continually lots of discussions about homeopathy and witchcraft and New Age, and we're going to talk about that here because it's important to know the truth, because the truth sets you free. So in closing, guys, here's the last thing I want to leave you with, and I feel it's the most important thing. But my desire with this podcast, above all else, all of the interviews, all of the teachings, the discussions, the conversations, all of it, my desire is to inspire one of the most healing influences in your life, and that is hope. Hope heals. Fear destroys. There's just nothing more simple than that. Homeopathy offers you hope in whatever decision you're in. It restores that choice so that you can see the invitations to full restoration that the Lord has for you. So that's my greatest desire, is that you would feel hope inspired and ignited within you through these stories, these testimonies, and these discussions. So thanks for joining me in my first episode of Offensively Simple. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes. They're going to be absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to bring them to you. God bless.